Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the show. Let's talk about this guy, Kilmar Garcia, that allegedly by the media was reported as being mistakenly sent to El Salvador, which has since then been debunked by the administration. But for some reason, the national media continues to report on this story as if a mistake was made. This guy who is an El Salvadorian citizen, who was known back in 2019 for being a member of MS-13, that was a gang back then, but today is a foreign terrorist organization. They asked the president of El Salvador if they were going to take him back. And this is what the president of El Salvador had to say in the White House. Let's roll it.
The question is preposterous. How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? I don't have the power to return him to the United States.
But you can release him inside El Salvador.
Yeah, but I'm not releasing, we're not very fond of releasing terrorists into our country. We just turned the murder capital of the world into the safest country of the Western Hemisphere, and you want us to go back into releasing criminals so we can go back to being the murder capital of the world?
So the president of El Salvador said, why would I facilitate an El Salvadorian citizen who is in America illegally, who is designated as a foreign terrorist? This isn't just a criminal affiliated gang member. He was ordered for deportation in 2019. Now, what the White House has said is that a rogue member of the administration who's since been fired came out and said it was a mistake. The Attorney General of the United States clarifies this to reporters in the White House. Let's also roll this.
He was illegally in our country. He had been illegally in our country. And in 2019, two courts, an immigration court and an appellate immigration court, ruled that he was a member of MS-13 and he was illegally in our country. Right now, it was additional paperwork had needed to be done. That's up to El Salvador if they want to return him. That's not up to us. The Supreme Court ruled, President, that if, as El Salvador wants to return him, this is international matters, foreign affairs, if they wanted to return him, we would facilitate it, meaning provide a plane.
So what's being reported by the national media is the Supreme Court told Trump to get El Salvadorian president to try to release him, but he had no obligation under foreign affairs, including the Foreign Enemies Act. So let me get this straight, just so we're clear. A member of MS-13, there's no debate about that. He was a member of MS-13 who's illegally in this country, a citizen of El Salvador. He's deported under this Alien Enemies Act. He's sent back to his country of origin, where he's a citizen, because he's in our country illegally, and everybody in the national media is whining and complaining because they're not bringing this guy back. So now the national media's interest and the Democrats' agenda is to get foreign terrorists designated that are sent overseas based on the executive authorities that the President of the United States has to protect our country. They want that reversed because they think this guy is a family guy and he deserves to be back because he had no due process. The due process that he failed to acknowledge was when he came into the country breaking the law. So let me get this right. If I go to Germany and I'm a member of Al-Qaeda, Germany deports me and they send me back to my home country of the United States. I have an expectation that the politicians of Germany and the people of Germany are going to advocate for allowing me to go back to Germany where I want to be, because that's where my wife and child are, despite me illegally entering Germany with no citizenship, and that's okay. It's along the same values as the issue of having American citizens showing ID to vote. Because somehow when you're doing right, you're doing wrong and oppressing some minority of the country. Women's rights are only women's rights as long as they're not violating one person, one minority, just one person. So no matter what side you stand for, as long as you stand for the opposite of common sense, reason, and logic, then you're on the Democrat side. I find that ludicrous. And to double down on that crazy is a recipe for just losing. And that's okay if you just want to continue to lose. Speaking of losing, I want you to watch this TikTok by Hakeem Jeffries. the Senate Minority Leader of the House of Representatives for the United States of America. Oh, just roll this one.
These DEI hires in the Trump administration, like Pete Hegseth, the so-called Secretary of Defense, dumb effing individuals, continue to try to test our resolve and cancel our history. The latest is a book ban at the Naval Academy that removes works, including those about slavery, the civil rights movement, and the Holocaust. At the same time, keeping books written by Adolf Hitler. Apparently, for these extremists, racist Nazi ideology and white supremacy is okay. We're going to keep the pressure on these extremists who continue to try to whitewash our history. They tried to cancel Jackie Robinson. We reversed it.
All right, so whoever is advising this guy how to communicate to the American people or to his constituents, all 10 of them, and the language he's using, saying dumb effing individuals, the audacity of this dude to literally come out and communicate this way about the Secretary of Defense and to throw out DEI. Trump's cabinet members are somehow affiliated with diversity, equity, and inclusion. The issue that he's talking about is the removal of these DEI-related books that talk about equity and inclusion when you should be talking about warrior ethos and lessons learned, including, I know it's hard to hear, including learning about the most radical dictators and evil human beings on the face of the planet so we understand the chronicles of history and how to combat that for the future. And I just don't understand why these guys don't get this. You're so out of touch with reality, but most significantly, you're so out of touch with the American people. Sure, keep doing the TikTok. It's not faring well for you. You look like an idiot. Lastly, there's this radical kick from the left-wing media for pushing extremism. Did you guys see this situation with the governor of Pennsylvania, Shapiro, whose house was attacked by an arsonist? Everybody jumped to the conclusion that this person was likely a radical right-wing extremist. Turns out that's not the case at all. He's just an extremist. What side he's on, who knows? The guy's crazy. And it's no coincidence that the left-wing media, including organizations like The Guardian, are running articles like this. Check this out. Now, going into this article, reading the headlines, which is what most people do, they just read the headlines and then they run with that narrative. Well, you know what this headline is? Apparently, there are 20 to 30 people following an account. Likely originates overseas. There just happened to be some real good journalism conducted by an investigative reporter who looked into it and found two of the people following this page happened to be in the military. So what do? Write a narrative that right-wing extremists exist in the military, and this was an emerging threat to democracy. That's what this article is all about. Yet they won't run one story on Tesla manufacturing, dealerships, or even people being vandalized and attacked for driving an electric car. What you're seeing is the bureaucrats and corrupt left remain silent, because as long as they're silent, the left-wing media is going to push the extremism, and what you're going to get is more radicals doing radical things. We'll talk about it more in the underground because, Lord, I can't talk about anything on YouTube anymore without being suppressed. Guys, check me out at the underground. It's patreon.com/Mike Glover. We're living in an upside down world. Till next time. Peace out.